Henry Penix here with the Frequency Effect. We've got the great pleasure and great honor of interviewing somebody that I've known for a little while, Mayor Debra Wimpee. This lady has won so many awards. We'll put all those in the show notes. We've talked about everything from finding out what you want to do in life to really realizing your passion driving your energy. This woman has unlimited energy. You've got to listen to this interview. And then we wind up at the end of the interview talking about giving donations to veterans and soldiers who have served our country, on top of everything else she's doing as mayor of one of the fastest growing cities around, and doing everything else she's doing, being in Switzerland. I don't know what you haven't done, but doing all these things, she still finds time to work for an organization that actually gives back to veterans. I think you're going to love this episode. Tune in, Frequency Effect, Henry Penix and Debra Wimpee.
This is a Soaak podcast.
Welcome to the Frequency Effect, sponsored by Soaak Technologies, where inspiration fuels innovation. Join our experts as they elevate your mind, body, and spirit, one conversation at a time. This is the Frequency Effect.
So Debra,
yes,
thank you for being here. I'm glad we finally got to sit down and let the world hear what you and I talk about sometimes.
Yeah, over lunch, yes.
Yeah. I love the fact that you're a leader. You've set records. You're one of two female mayors for the city of Broken Arrow, I think, in the last 90 years or so.
Yeah, it had been 90 years, yeah.
Yeah, and so I know you had maybe some hurdles to overcome, but knowing you like I know you and your personality and everything, I think you probably bounced right over those hurdles. And
I think so. And we just broke some more records as we were going along. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, as we get into this, and I've just kind of read your bio a little bit, and there's some stuff in the show notes, but tell me about those records as well, because I think it'll help set a base from us to talk to about where else you're going and what else you're doing.
Sure. Well, as far as just the city itself and female leadership, it was really neat because when I got elected in 2017, I was one of five. I was one female on the council of five. But then in 2019, we elected another female. So then we had never had two females on the council in the history.
Oh my
and then
gosh.
we became the mayor and the vice mayor, and we had never had that before. And then we elected a third female. So then we were just like
setting records.
Yeah, setting records left and right. So yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Don't tempt me, because I will break that record.
Yep.
Right.
So
and then in 23, you were nominated as Woman of the Year. Which was amazing. I've watched you kind of from afar, and every time you take another step, break another record, go another mile, I've always wanted to have this conversation with you because I want to know what makes you up. Like what's that thing inside that drives you? So I want to start a little bit with your history. Back when you were growing up, coming up through grade school, high school, what were some of your goals, your aspirations? What were you thinking about then? And does it have anything to do with what you're doing now? I mean, is there any correlation? I figured you were going to say that.
Absolutely not. Well, we've talked about this briefly, but what is kind of neat is that Debra means bee. And so I was always doing stuff and buzzing around, like busy, right? But never did I ever think that I would be in politics. It wasn't until I was an adult that I actually I had to do some lobbying for my job of 16 years. And that's when I started really kind of getting engaged. I mean, I listened to things and I learned and I paid attention, but it wasn't until I was in that role where I had to lobby that I actually saw behind the scenes and realized, they're just people, right? And they don't know everything. That's why they have people that know, that guy.
Advisors and things like that.
Exactly. That one does infrastructure, that one does all that stuff. So it wasn't until 2017 that even though I had been behind the scenes helping many candidates and people would say, when are you going to, run for office? I would always be like, oh, no. I'm perfectly fine being behind the scenes, right? I am good because I see what people go through. So I'm like, absolutely not.
Why would I ever want to do that?
But going back to growing up, never did I ever think, I was with sixth graders today and they asked me, did you think you were going to be mayor? I'm like, never, And I actually had got accepted into the Art Institute in Dallas out of high school. And that's what I thought I was going to be, was an artist, probably a starving artist, but that's what I was going to be in. But then I kind of chickened out. I went there and I kind of was just like, what there's no way I'm not doing this. I'm not leaving my state, my home, and
Right.
all this. So, and then just kind of found my way. I don't know. It just,
Were you kind of a competitive person, or more of a laid back, or did the competitiveness in you, or I'll change that word instead of competitive, the ability to get over like obstacles, like to bust through things, see the light, see how things were done, and then figuring it out?
more of that, because there were lots of obstacles. There were, along the way, I was married, got divorced. I was a single mother of 2 kids at one point, and you have to learn to survive, right?
Absolutely.
And get past those obstacles. Looking back now, I've now been married almost 23 years, and we have 3 kids and 2 grandkids, which is crazy. But it's just wild to think back. Like if people just know me now, they only know that of me. They don't know that I've had struggles in the past, or
Right.
what I did have to overcome. And so I was approached last year. There is a lady who felt led by God to start a single mothers nonprofit, right, to help single moms.
wow.
And it was just really neat that she goes, for some reason, it was just placed on my heart to call the mayor. And I'm like, and why would she do that?
She would have not known any of that.
None of that. And so when I
Wow.
sat down with her, it was just really cool that those divine appointments, or those divine, run-ins that you have with people,
Right.
that I'm like, well, you don't know this, but,
Nothing's by accident.
never, ever.
Yeah.
And so even with the mayor thing, even when I became counsel, that wasn't a goal of mine necessarily.
right.
I was just willing to be in the role. I was willing to do whatever needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew early on that God created me to be a light and a connector.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I find energy, is like people and connecting people and fixing things and solving
Right.
things. And so I think that's just kind of been all along. I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Sorta.
Yes. No. I'm trying to follow the bee.
Yeah,
buzzer.
that's exactly right.
You-
Welcome
you're-
to my husband's life. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You were telling me before, you mentioned you had a couple of grandkids. What do they call you?
Honey.
So your name, Debra, you were telling me means
Bee. Yep.
and you're buzzing around,
Yep.
and you had them call you
Yep.
honey. That's perfect.
And then I have the social site called the BA Buzz.
Oh, I know. I
Yep.
didn't know that.
So, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's got a small little reach, almost. We hit like 1 million people here and there sometimes. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And
just talking about positive things in BA.
that's an amazing reach.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your life has been kind of built by overcoming obstacles, kind of getting from point A to point B. You got into something that you never thought you would have ever got into. But in doing that, along that path, you've set records. When you guys read the show notes and see all of her accomplishments there, she was just telling us before the interview how she had went to Switzerland and done all these things that's never been done before. One of 12 mayors, female mayors that were invited to Switzerland, and saw the whole country and toured and all that. That's one of 50 things that I read about you. So I don't want to go down that path because there's so many, but in doing all that, it's like you've always had kind of a guiding light, I would say. And that guiding light, let's talk a little bit about that, because we could talk about your awards, your accolades, your accomplishments. And I want everybody to read those because it gives her the credibility of what she's about to say, in my opinion. What has that light been like in your life? Did you always see that light? What do you call that light? Has it always been clear? Did you ever try to go away from that light? Can we get into a little bit of that? Because
Sure.
I've kind of got some feedback for you as well.
So I feel like before I understood what my calling was and what I was supposed to be doing,
Right.
I always knew people were energy to me as well, kind of like a butterfly in the sunshine, right?
Right.
But so Wednesday night at church one time, you do the little, what's your spiritual gift test?
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen those. Yep.
Yep. So I don't know if I've told you this story yet, but
I don't think I've heard it.
Okay.
No.
So we do the test, and my husband and I are sitting there looking at the notes, and he said, basically, I turned the paper over. He said, I went white as a ghost. And I was like, do these gifts just come upon you? Because I'm pretty sure I don't want this. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I don't want this gift. I was like, it's freaking me out. It's kind of scary. I'm actually afraid of the dark. I don't want this gift. And he's like, what is wrong with you? What are you talking about? What does it say? And I said, well, it says I have the gift of exorcism. And he was like, what? So he grabs a paper and he goes, it's exhortation, Debra. I said, well, what is that? And he goes, it's where people are just drawn to you and they just open up to you.
Oh my God. Unlike Exorcism.
I was
No,
like,
I've never
I
heard
totally
that.
have that. Like,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So it just like, I was like, ding, ding, ding. But I
Oh
literally, then
my
I'm like, do not
gosh.
ever call me to call out demons. It's not my thing. It's not my gift. So you're going to have to deal with it on your own because that's not my calling. But yeah.
But that's so true about you, because everybody, it's so easy to talk with you, and you're so friendly and compassionate, but you also know how to get the job done. You know, like that's such a balance that you're either on one side of that pendulum or on the other, but you do both. So continue. What did that light look like? Like after that, were you starting to see how that kind of fit into your daily walk? Did you know, like you said, like my father was a pastor, and I grew up in church, and something about a PK, preacher's kid, that when I was in college, I went the total opposite. I did everything that I wasn't supposed to do, and almost to defy it. I don't know why kids do that, but that was kind of my experience of going away from the light or away from God. And you know, I ultimately came back, and then I started learning why I was here. But I had that moment kind of what it felt like separation to me. Like, did you ever experience that, or did you just kind of accept that and grow in it, or what was your experience?
Yeah, no, I think I grew in it more. Okay. And it was fun once I realized, it actually, for me, it was a joy. Like I'm like, oh, it all makes sense now, right? Like when I looked at things that I had to get through, or people that would come into my life and help me walk alongside, like when I was a single mom, I worked for Wallace Engineering at the time and was with them for like 7 years. But the people that I worked for, they were so gracious and so giving, and they helped me, and they understood. But they were just I just felt like God always brought people alongside of me to help me get through situations. But knowing that I had a heart for people and everything, so then it just kind of made sense, right? That people would be drawn to me, which also sounds kind of weird, but
because you cared,
right? But it is just a thing. Like I don't ever want to walk in a room and people ever feel uncomfortable, or so I'm immediately just want to make them feel comfortable and find out something about them, and you know, or just bring them because you can see the person that's standing in the room that's all alone or whatever, and I'm the one that I feel like I want to go over there and say, hey,
cuddle with them. It's okay. Yeah, you want everybody to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I heard a guy tell me, he says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yep.
And that's always stuck with me.
Yeah.
So that caring kind of correlated with you know, your walk with God, and then taking that just a step at a time, I guess, drew these other things to you, and you winning the awards, and because it's nothing that you're going after. Like people
I'm not
are
applying for things.
No,
I'm just like. Yeah,
well, and that's something, because on this show we have a lot of listeners who, you know, they'll write in and ask, how do I know why I'm here? Like, how do I know my purpose? And I think when you align yourself right with your Creator, you know, and I don't mean this to be all about religion. In fact, I really don't like religion. Like I like relationship with your Heavenly Father. I think if anything is born other than out of unconditional love, it's not for me, because I've seen both sides of that. But while we're talking about it, to kind of get to your purpose and find out why you're here, what's some advice that you could give, particularly female leaders, but really to everybody? What do you kind of look out for or go through in finding your purpose?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I had to learn in being an elected official. I don't know if you know this, but there are people who don't like politicians.
No.
Yeah, it's weird. They won't even try to get to know them, and they'll immediately hate them.
They just hate them because they're a politician.
Yeah. So I like to say I'm an elected official, not a politician.
Right.
Yeah, that's so much more positive. So,
that's good.
But again, I'm human, and I love people. So it was really hard in the beginning to have anyone come at me, right?
You.
And
just because of your position, not the person, but just the position.
Oh yeah. And then sometimes it was personal. Like they would assume things, or like, you know, I have a mayor's page, right? And if I was to put stuff on there, then I'm bragging
Right.
I went here, I went to this
Right,
meeting,
right,
and here's what I learned or
right,
whatever.
right.
But then if I didn't put anything, then they're like, does she do anything? And I'm like, well, okay, yeah, but when I was putting it out there, you
hated it.
You hated it. So, I mean, one of my biggest posts on my mayor's page was whenever the former mayor of Brazil came to Broken Arrow. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Yes. There
So
was huge controversy.
Yes. And so it's one of our officers is Brazilian, and his brother was his chief of staff. So that's why he came to Broken Arrow. Well, he's coming to Oklahoma, but he came to Broken Arrow to go see our public safety and meet our chief and all that. So then they invited me to go by there. Well, he doesn't even speak English, so it's not as if we had a conversation.
Right.
And whatever I did say to him, it was like, welcome to Broken Arrow. You know what I mean? It was not a real...
Normal stuff.
Yeah. Take a picture with him, right?
Right.
And then he's leaving. I'm like, well, crap, I take a selfie with everybody. I can't believe I didn't just take a selfie with him. So grab him in the hall, take a selfie with him, right? So I post... Well, how cool was that? Like the former Brazilian president. Right. I don't care who it was. It would have been, it was just an honor to have him.
You saw him as a person, not as anything else.
Always.
Yeah.
And that's, I think,
the way you
difference.
are.
Yes.
Yep.
And then it just blew up, right? Because how the Americans felt about him and all the names they called him, which then meant I was also the same way.
Right.
So
guilt by association.
Absolutely. I'm a fascist, which I didn't even know. I didn't even know I was. I had to look it up. I didn't even know what it was. So I was like, really? Am I?
Yeah,
No,
you're
I'm
an
not.
exorcist, not a fascist.
Wrong-ist.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, but then what was cool is to see Brazilians jump on my post. Like hundreds of them, thousands of them.
And defend
jump
you?
on my defend me and him, saying he was the greatest president we've ever had in our country.
Right,
Our
right.
country is going to be destroyed now. Like you Americans have no idea, right? Like they're just
my gosh.
like and then
you created this war just trying to be with somebody.
Yeah, and I'm like, I was just gonna say, like, how cool is this? But I say all that to say, those are the things that I was just like, as far as like telling other leaders or elected officials, like, especially on social media, like they don't know you. And I really tried really hard to like, I would see a negative comment, and I would private message them and be like, hey, I'd love to grab coffee. 9 times out of 10, they didn't live in my city anyway. They didn't even live in my state, right? And then I found that out. If they did live in my city, it was literally only like twice out of all the times I reached out to people that they would actually sit down and talk to me. Both times, one was a phone call, one was coffee, and the phone call was like, well, I don't hate you anymore. And I'm like, well...
Thank you.
I don't even know why I don't know why you hated me anyway. Like,
right.
Why would you hate someone you've never even met? Like, that was crazy. But I had to learn real fast, like, especially like on social media, like the positive things build your pride and the negative ones hurt your heart. So I don't even look anymore. I'm like, I know if I put something out there, it's because it's factual, and I'm going to just share it, and then I don't even look anymore. Right. But so it's the same thing with just women leaders. And it's funny, we go to all these conferences. I go to these women's conferences, and it's always about work-life balance and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to go to a session about work-life balance. Like, just because I'm a female, I got to learn about work-life balance, right? Like, it's so wild to me. I'm like, that's not what I want to learn about, right?
Right.
Because we just do what we have to do, like.
Right.
But we're also the women are supposed to be like, we're supposed to be taking care of the kids and, having dinner cooked and get the laundry done, but also be the mayor and do all those things. And I just do it. And I don't, it's, actually my husband does my laundry. So
that's good. That's good.
He did it one time, and then I never took it back. So
since you loved it so much.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because, I think people who put themselves, almost label themselves as I'm supposed to be this or I'm supposed to be that, just due to public opinion, versus somebody who's just being themselves.
Yeah.
Like you do you. You've probably heard that. You be you.
Yeah.
And I think when you're just you with a good heart, I mean, you obviously have a great heart. That should be all that you care about. And I think a lot of people listening, when you're on the road of finding your purpose, finding your passion, not everybody's going to agree with you. Like, I remember doing a small teaching about in the Bible where it says God will give you the desire of your heart. That word desire comes from the Latin root word sire, and sire is of the Father. Like dog, the sire.
Okay,
and so when you get that from the Father, from your Heavenly Father, from your Creator, He also gives you everything to implement that. But just because He gave me a desire doesn't mean He's going to share that same desire with you or even tell you about my desire. Yeah. So if we're great friends, which I love that we have a great relationship, and we are friends. But if you came to me and said, Henry, this thing that you're getting ready to do, like, I just don't see it. Like, I can't hold that against you because you're right. You don't see it because it wasn't given to you.
It wasn't to me. Yeah.
It was given to me. And that's even the same thing with parents. Sometimes they'll say, little Johnny, I was a baseball player. You need to be a baseball player. Your grandfather was a baseball player. You need to do this, 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 and this. And Johnny has a desire in his heart to become a dentist.
Yeah.
Well, nobody in our family's ever been a dentist. You don't need to do this. You don't need that. Well, little Johnny can't get upset at his parents because they just want to do what they think is right to the level of their understanding. But little Johnny has just been dumped a desire from the father, from the sire that says, this is what you need to do the rest of your life. So I think it's important, to your point, that people don't get swayed or persuaded by public opinion, but just doing what's in their heart, doing what they know the right thing is, and the desire that I believe your Creator has put in your heart.
Sure, absolutely. And that even goes all the way down to my role as a mayor or just as a counselor, and even little bitty decisions that we make and we vote on as a council, because we each decide on our own. Like, we look at what's laid out before us and our understanding of what we're working on, and then we have to make that individual decision. And then we can be held. Then we're held accountable, right?
Right.
And
of course.
And we have counselors. I mean, when I first got on, we have a counselor that's been with us for like 44 years, and he's been an amazing mentor to me. Can you imagine serving your city for 40-something years? Yeah.
He could just smell an application and vote on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
He's already seen them all.
Yeah. But what was really cool is when we first, like one of our very first meetings, he reached over and he said, Deb, we're not always going to vote the same, but that doesn't mean we're not going to be friends. We're not going to, right? And so the very first time I voted differently than him, it's because when I looked at what we were doing, I didn't feel that was right from my constituents or for the overall being of the city. And he just leaned over and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Good job, Deb." He could have held that against me and been like, "Gosh, she doesn't know what she's talking about," or what, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I learned a lot from the way he handled things as well. And because I had other counselors when I wasn't, so I didn't take great advice from.
Right.
I appreciate their time of service, but
No, but I think because sometimes that can change someone's course, like especially if you're a people pleaser, that could literally change your course in life.
It was hard.
If you're just trying to do what you think other people expect of you, or if you're trying to do, something that your best friend says, "Hey, Deb, you told me about this, but I really don't think you should do it." Like, if you didn't have the maturity of your mentor or have that mindset, it could derail you.
Sure.
For a while. I mean, I don't think we're ultimately derailed. I think we always get back to our purpose, but it can either take you a couple of years or a couple of decades, depending on how you look at it.
Well, and it's not as if I've got it all figured out as far as this elected official thing either, because there are times that things get overwhelming, but the only person who hears about it is my husband, right? Like that's who I'm going to dump on, right?
Yeah.
Like in public, I'm going to smile, everything's great.
And you've got an NDA with him, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But there's been a handful of times that he'll just say, "Well, then stop. I mean, you don't have to do this. Like, you do not have to serve in this capacity. So just stop." And I'm like, and then I get angry. I'm like, no. I know I was called for such a
They're
time
not
as
going to
this.
win.
They're not going to win. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to be here and blah, all this stuff.
And
then
that's
he's
your
like,
desire coming back in you.
And then he'll say, "Then put your big girl pants on and get back out there," right? And so
Really?
he knew what he was doing every single time, right? So I'm like, fine, yeah.
And he knows about your pants because he does your laundry.
That's exactly. That's exactly right.
I see how this is all looping together now. This makes total sense.
Yeah.
No, well, that's very helpful. I always like to give our listeners something that will help them find their way, help them know that if they've got that desire in their heart, not everybody's going to agree with them, and keep going, keep being you, just like you have been you, and you will get the desires of your heart. And that just I think that makes total sense.
Yeah. And then I used to get asked all the time about like businesses, right? Like how to get themselves out there or put themselves out there. And one thing that always came back to me is like, so say their social media, to be real and authentic on their social media, not put their business on the street by any means,
right?
But not just say, "I do a bug service and here's all the bugs that you know what I mean? Like, truly like, share family stuff, share, you know, community stuff, or what are you passionate in? You love gardening? Go volunteer at a community garden, and you'll probably meet people who need your services, right?
Yeah.
And build
tell them
that
what
way.
bugs you, right?
Yeah. Find out what bugs them.
Sorry. Yeah, there you go. And then that's the business.
Yeah.
No,
But it all goes
you're
back to
right.
just
You're
being
totally right.
yourself, authentic self, and, you know, and then also like going and finding something that you're passionate about and doing that. You'll have the joy in what you're doing. You're serving, you're giving back, you're passionate about that, but then you're also being able to meet new people and probably get some business out of it.
And it's not work anymore.
Yeah.
You know, because I still to this day don't understand your energy. I mean, honest to God, I could, coffee. I could, we could have a conversation at 8 a.m. or 8 p.m, and you've got the same energy. I mean, I think that B, I think the word B is literally means that.
And people say that. They're like, are you a morning or an evening party? I'm like,
Both.
Yeah. Because I wake up, I mean, and it's always been this way. I wake up between 6 and 6:15. Just, I can step out of the bed and walk out the door. Like, I don't have to.
Really?
Like, I have things that I do, but if something happened, I can get up and go. But that's my alone time. So that's why because if I was to wait any other time, I'd fill the whole day up, right?
Right,
And,
of course.
So that is my devotional time and my quiet time. But he's always woke me up so very early. But I think he knows. He must know that I need that time. And to be able to do all that I'm going to do the rest of the day.
I don't do this with everybody, but I would like to know, since we talked about high energy, and I think a lot of the energy is driven by your passion, because when you're doing what you love to do, it kind of fuels that. Yeah. Like I'll be up till 10, 11, midnight sometimes. And if I'm getting something or getting an answer on something, or I'm working on a document I need to get out that I just love working on, time, like minutes become hours. And it's like, I was in there for 3 hours, but you're doing what you love. So I want to ask you, and when we'll bring this to a close, to keep the high energy and all of that, are you a granola, eating certain things just the right way, not eating other things, hydrating, not hydrating, taking supplements, sleeping, not sleeping? Like, give me a little bit of that morning start, and then kind of how you finish your evenings.
Yeah. So none and all.
Okay.
So I should take vitamins. I'll start, and then I get lazy and I don't. I should drink more, and I'm like, I'm going to drink more water, and then I do, and then I don't.
Right.
I do drink.
There is
a lot
water
more.
in coffee.
There is. That's exactly right. I do drink more of this since Switzerland, by the way, because there literally was an Nespresso machine in every room that we stayed in, and and we took 1 million Nespresso breaks.
Oh, I bet.
And so. Yeah. But no bathroom breaks. So that was one thing I did recommend, since we were the inaugural trip. I was like, if we could just add bathroom breaks, you know, because we'd get done with the session, it would be like, okay, we need to get on the bus. And we're like, oh, okay. We just drank 5 cups of coffee. Okay, sure.
Right.
But yeah, so I do start with, when I got back, it was in May. Then Mother's Day hits, my daughter got me an Nespresso machine because I was talking about Nespresso the whole time. So excellent. I start with that in the morning, and usually like maybe if I have time, I'll eat like a couple of eggs. But I love eggs. But
I do too.
Yeah, I mean,
and sometimes you skip breakfast, or like if you are rushed out or whatever.
Yeah, I'll skip breakfast, and I call it fasting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not a mistake. You didn't miss it. You're fasting.
I'm fasting. Just today. But then usually, I mean, with my schedule, it's always different. Yeah. So you go to all these luncheons and happy hours and dinners and all this stuff. And you try so hard to be like, okay, well, I'm only going to eat the lettuce, or I'm only going to eat, you know. Right. But then even if you eat the chamber chicken, it's going to be soaked in something. It is super hard. Like, that's probably the hardest part, is trying to eat healthy all the time whenever you're constantly going to different events. And, you know, it's so easy to just, sure, I'll eat that meatball. Yeah, I'll eat that. Whatever, you know what I mean? Like, whatever's in front of you. Yeah. But yeah, so it's
and I know you're on the move all the time, but do you walk? Do you exercise any?
So my husband's much better at the gym, and but we'll go in the morning depending on my schedule, and so at least we get there. I try to go 2 to 3 times a week. It doesn't always happen, but So, but it's hard because my day is like
no, I know. Well, I don't see how you would even get that in.
And I used to, when we were dating all those years ago, we would go at night. So, because I was my mom, right?
Right,
so I
right.
put my kids to bed.
Right.
I was.
You got an hour.
Yeah, and then go to the gym or whatever, and then but that things change, right? Now
Right.
I'm tired at night. I'm not going to go to the gym.
You
so,
actually have to sleep.
yeah, at some point. So.
And just because we're a health and wellness company,
Yeah.
Do you get 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep a night? Like, where's your range?
Yeah.
Normally?
Probably 5-ish.
5-ish, yeah.
5 to 6, I bet. But again, it's so sporadic because
Right.
it depends on,
Where you're at.
do I have 75 galas that week, or you know what I mean? Like,
What award
but
do
I
I
have
need to
control of that as well, right? I mean, I could go
Yeah.
home at 9 when it's done, but I love people, so I want to keep
you gotta
enjoying.
buzz around and-
Yes, I have to. So I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to those things. So yeah.
Well, I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing for the city of Broken Arrow. I actually live in Broken Arrow now. We've got our offices.
Just on the edge.
Yeah. So I appreciate what you've done for Broken Arrow. It's for people who don't live in the area. She has been at the forefront of so much change. There's so many positive things that have happened. I think Broken Arrow was rated a couple of years ago. I read something. It was rated like one of the top 10 cities to raise a family in the entire U.S.
Yeah,
and you're at the helm of that.
consistently the safest cities and best places to live, and
And we still have a little land left in Broken Arrow.
We're
So if you
barely
want
50% built out. So
no kidding.
yeah,
And
65 square miles, but yeah.
Oh my God. And we've got that great amphitheater
Yep,
coming
that's
in
coming
and
spring of next year.
they put nearly $1 billion into that.
It's and we put in almost 30 million in infrastructure improvements
From Broken Arrow?
From Broken Arrow.
No
We created a TIF district for it, and they were improvements we needed to make.
Uh-huh.
And we had a general obligation bond in 2011 that the citizens actually voted to put an amphitheater there. They probably didn't realize it'd be a 12,500 seat amphitheater. So
this is an outdoor concert.
yeah.
This is Woodstock.
Yes, but that even that, I feel like our city's just has a little bubble around it, and it's just super favored. But
Yeah,
that
is.
whole amphitheater, the way it worked out when they came to us, because they're talking to Tulsa. Tulsa has so much more potential, right?
Yep.
As you would assume,
You would imagine.
You would imagine.
Yeah.
But the events park, when they were first looking at it, they were going to put it in our park. Well, they have to own their land. Well, that was bought on bond money,
Right.
so you can't sell that, right?
Right.
So, but guess what? There was like 40 acres right next to it that we just went and talked to the gentleman, and he was like, you know what? I talked to my kids. They don't want to do anything with it. And he could have jacked the price up
Right,
astronomically
right.
once he heard what we were wanting to do. And he just saw the vision and gave us the fair market, fair price for it.
Right.
And then so that way they could buy the land, the acreage that they needed from there
To make their business deal work.
to make theirs
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And so it's been really neat to see that work. ODOT allowed us to do like a little pigtail from the park onto the creek turnpike instead of having to come out in the main, way.
wow.
Like they're like, yep, that makes sense. We should do that. So it was just like one thing after another. Every time there was an obstacle, it seemed like it would just work out.
There was favor
It
there.
would work its way out. Yep.
Wow.
So,
From the bee.
from them.
Not the bee that way,
yeah,
but
right.
the bumblebee.
Yes. Yeah. So
yeah.
it's been pretty neat to see. I wasn't going to run. I don't know if I told you I wasn't going to run last time.
No.
So April was my reelection this year.
Right,
and I had decided that I'd served 8 years, and I thought I did some good things, and but I just became the executive director for Soldier's Wish, and I thought,
Right.
you know what, I'm just going to focus. Like, I know God put me, like, I served, volunteered for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
I could see I could see, like, oh my gosh, like, even becoming the city councilor and then the mayor led me to
All
the
was
place
set up for that.
for this right here, right? And so I was
Say a little bit
ready.
about that too, because you and I know some of the same people in that organization.
Yeah.
And you've took that by the horns and are doing an amazing job. Tell me a little bit about that as well, because I want to know about it. It's
Yeah.
such a good thing.
So Soldier's Wish was, I guess, founded in 2013. So we've been around just a little bit, but it was really just wanting to stand in the gap and meet unmet needs of veterans and active military. So we have
Right.
really great veteran organizations, but a lot of times they just do one thing, right? Like maybe it's just tuition, or they help with homeless, or they take people on hunts,
Right.
right? Like recreational things.
Right.
So it's kind of neat. Why I always love the mission is because it literally, like, I can fix your roof or your car or your septic tank or whatever, right?
Right,
Pay an
right.
electric bill or something. So I volunteered with them for 9 years, put on a big street festival every year. This year we had almost 23,000 people at the event. So
Wow.
little old street festival.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was really cool. But in November of 23 is whenever they said, would you be interested? The executive director was moving away to St. Thomas to run a hotel, which I'm like, so I get a vacation spot too?
Yeah, right.
Cool.
Yeah.
So-
I hope you negotiated that in.
Yeah, totally. But I was like, I didn't even have to think twice. I'm like, that is literally my dream job, like
your
to
heart.
serve those who served. My dad's a Marine Vietnam veteran. My little sister is retired chief in the Navy, and that was my way to get back. That's why I volunteered like so much and did
Right.
like served so much on like the Military History Center board and the Veteran Center board and just whatever I could do, right? To bring honor to our military in our city.
Right.
But last year alone, we granted almost $500,000 in wishes, with probably 75% of that all being in-kind donations.
So tell people listening today, and even if you're not from Broken Arrow or this area, you can still donate to this cause. And the services in kind means that you personally would go out and talk to a roofing company and say, we've got these 3 needs. Would you donate that? And they'll make that donation because you're a 501c3,
Right.
I would imagine.
Exactly.
Then they can get somewhat of a write-off for it,
they'll
tax
get a tax
write-off,
receipt.
to whatever extent they're allowed with their company and their makeup. But then the veteran gets a free roof, basically.
Yeah.
And it's all because of the connection that you made in between those people. So I can't imagine how many times you would have to do that to do almost $500,000.
It's a lot. Yeah. And there's just 3 of us that are,
Oh my gosh.
and Sean, so what happens is
Wow.
if he's either cold calling different
Right. Companies
like
or
companies or whatever, or it's someone that I've had a relationship with that I'll reach out and say, hey, you have, is this something you'd want to work on? And I send them stuff.
Yep.
But I think people, because we're constantly granting wishes, I think people probably think like, man, they're just flush with money, right? Like they're just
Yeah.
rolling in it. People are asking us to sponsor stuff. I'm like, no, I need you to sponsor
me.
Yeah, I'm
It's
like, we
one
need the
wish at a
dollars.
time.
Yeah. And so, but one wish could take so long to work on because it's got to coordinate. We're on May 13th, we're doing a wish. And we're doing their roof. And then I surprised him and he's getting a new HVAC system. And then, but I mean, American Waste is donating the dumpsters. There's another company donating the porta-johns outside,
Right.
like Home Depot's coming on board and doing all the materials. So and the roofing company's doing the manual labor, right?
Right.
He worked for American Airlines, and his employees or the people he works with, a lot of them are going to come out and volunteer their time along with Home Depot employees. So but
my
coordinating all
gosh.
of that, and that's just one wish, right? That we've been working on to try to get taken care of. So, then it's so cool. So one last thing about Soldier's Wish. But so last Saturday night we were at Smoke and Guns, the police and fire boxing match.
Right.
And we got to grant a wish there in the ring. And so I got to stand there in front of thousands of people and share.
Who did you hit?
I did not get to hit anybody.
I could see your wish being wanting to hit somebody. But no,
Pick you.
Just easy. Yeah.
So we gave a car away.
Oh,
And
wow.
and it's like some people are like a brand new car. It's not a brand new car by any
Right,
means,
right.
but it's new to him. He had been driving a 2006 van. He had served our military for 21 years. And anytime he had the ability to get something newer for himself, something would come up and he'd always take care of his family.
wow.
Just a precious man, and never saw this coming. His daughters, bought tickets, or we got him tickets for their
Right.
family. There were 7 of them that came, and he probably didn't know why he was going to this fight night thing. But
right.
so even all the way down to us taking him down, and he's walking with these people he doesn't know. And then we pull him into the ring and he's standing there and he's like, what is happening?
Right.
And then I tell his story and I talk about, how, we do such a great job of training our men and women, but then we just expect them to come back to civilian life and everything's
fit in.
fine.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But then they've got a war at home that they battle and it's just struggles.
Yeah.
And then we're like, so we want to bless you today. And, we hear you could use a newer vehicle. And so we've got you this 2019 Nissan Kick. And I mean, he was still like,
Oh my gosh.
what? You know, like,
yeah.
is this happening?
Am I dreaming?
Yeah. So we get done. He's still, I have to do some behind the scenes things. They walk off, and I guess I wasn't there at that point, but I think it dawned on him. He kind of broke down. I mean, obviously broke down, but it was just like, that was a precious moment, like that we get to impact people in that way. Like I get to do that. That's amazing.
Right.
And then we got his family together and we took a picture, and then he was like, can we gather up real quick? And then he just started singing To God Be the Glory, like right there in the BOK lobby, like loud, and his family was singing. I was like, this is my life. Like, this is so cool.
Oh my gosh.
So that was just last Saturday, so.
Oh my God. So
tomorrow we're
Switzerland
granting,
the month before that.
Yeah.
Last Saturday is Soldiers With.
Yeah.
Tomorrow
we're going to grant a wish at a derby party. So,
wow. Wow. So Soldier's Wish, we'll put those in the show notes as well, how they can get a hold of you and make donations in kind, or I'm sure you take money as well.
Yeah.
So you can go buy different things for these veterans that, like you said, have come home, but still are warring in their minds. And sometimes it's hard for them to get adjusted, and you want to help that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So. And that's like, I remember right after COVID, the need a lot was like grocery gift cards. And so we did a lot of grocery, like food insecurities was like a big thing back then.
Right.
Well, we just realized, we started looking at our wishes that come in, and we've got a database. I have almost 200 or 2 million in wishes right now that I have not gotten to because of the awareness I created over the last year and a half.
Now,
right?
is that called job security, or is that?
Yeah, right.
or you're going to be very old when
So
when
I'm
you're
like,
110.
That's exactly right. I'm like, so I need a lot of businesses to come on board and some money.
Quick.
Quick, ASAP. But what we're seeing the most, it's home repairs and vehicle repairs or vehicles. Okay. So it's just like a kind of flow. I guess it's just whatever's going on, in the world today. It's kind of what that need kind of just fluctuates. But
right now it's cars and home repair and different things like that. Yeah.
But we did get to partner with Home Depot, and so that's been really helpful. It's a process as well. You have to apply for their grants, and then they decide, and then you work on the wish together. So that's another level of the steps it takes. But But then we also work with a lot of other veteran organizations too, because if the mission is to help veterans, then we should all be working together. So
100%. Well, my father was in the Army. He was a sharpshooter, and anything that we can do, we can talk after this podcast about Soaak, making either a donation or a gift in kind or something, because I would love to help support that as well. I think what we're doing at Soaak, being really focusing in on mental health and wellness. I was telling you we're in 190 countries now. We've actually done 2 contracts with the U.S. Air Force. Yeah. And so we're driven to help the military and different governmental endeavors like that as well. So I would love to talk to you about that and see what we can work out as well.
Yeah, and mental health, that is the biggest thing right now. It truly is for so many homeless, and again, that not just veterans, or not just homeless veterans, but homeless in general, and then than our veterans and our active military.
Especially with veterans. Well, we would love to help, and we will for sure set something up like that. So the next time you're on the podcast, you can give a report of everything that has happened. So thank you so much for being here. I know you're swamped. I know you're going 1,000,000 miles an hour, but thank you for being here. And I know our listeners are going to love hearing this story and seeing what you have to share. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
See ya.
Thank you for sharing your time with us today. After you've subscribed at Soaak Podcast, please leave us your questions and comments. Remember, your frequency is what you think about most frequently. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.